My name is Thomas Hayes, and I am 68 years old. What I'm about to tell you tore the last 39 years of my life into pieces and then, slowly, taught me how to put a new life together from the ashes. The funeral of my wife, Evelyn, was the quietest, coldest day I have ever known. I stood there beside her grave in my only black suit, the one she had sewn for me by hand in 1987, when suddenly my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I'm alive. That is not me in the coffin. My knees almost gave out. I typed back with shaking thumbs. Who is this? The reply came instantly. I can't say yet. They're watching. Do not trust our sons. At that moment, the world cracked open. I looked across the cemetery at Charles and Henry, my own boys, standing beside the casket with faces calm as still water. Their eyes were dry, their hugs brief and stiff, like men checking a box. For 39 years, Evelyn had been my sunrise and my sunset. We met when I was 26 and she was 23, both of us scraping by in the little town of Spring Creek. I was a mechanic, running the small garage my daddy left me. She waitressed at the diner and took in ironing at night to help her sick father. We had nothing but a rusted pickup, a tin roof house that leaked in 12 places, and a love so fierce it made poverty feel like a joke. I still remember the first time she walked past my open bay door in a faded yellow dress, hair tied back with a piece of ribbon. I had grease up to my elbows and a stupid grin I couldn't wipe off. "Morning, Miss Evelyn," I called. "Your Ford need looking at?" She laughed and said, "Thomas Hayes. I don't even own a Ford." But she stopped anyway, and we talked until the sun climbed high. That talk turned into stolen evenings under the big oak in Town Square, turned into promises, turned into a courthouse wedding with $23 between us and more hope than sense. The early years were hard and beautiful. When the rain came, we set out every pot and pan to catch the drips and danced barefoot between them while the thunder rolled. I worked from dawn till the streetlights came on, fixing tractors and pickups for farmers who paid in eggs half the time. Evelyn sewed curtains for half the town and still found time to sing to our babies. Charles came first, big blue eyes like his mother, my stubborn chin. 2 years later, Henry arrived, red-faced and loud, the spitting image of me at that age. I taught them to turn a wrench before they could spell their names, took them fishing at the river every Sunday, told them stories about engines and honesty and how a man is only as good as the work he leaves behind. Evelyn fed them, bathed them, rocked them when storms scared them. We were poor as church mice, but we were rich in the only currency that matters. Then the boys grew taller, and everything changed. Charles was always the ambitious one. By 12, he was asking why we didn't have a bigger house, a newer truck, why I still got my hands dirty when other men wore ties. Henry followed his big brother like a shadow. When Charles turned 18, I offered him a place in the garage, steady work, honest money. He looked at me like I'd offered him a prison sentence. "I'm not spending my life under cars like you, Dad. I'm going to be somebody." Those words cut deeper than any blade. I never told Evelyn how many nights I sat on the porch afterward staring at the stars, feeling like I'd failed my own blood. The boys left Spring Creek for the city and made money, real estate, investments, words I barely understood. At first I was proud. My sons had escaped the grind. Then the visits grew rare, the phone calls short, the expensive gifts colder than charity. Charles married Jasmine, a city woman who looked at our little house the way you look at something stuck to your shoe. The first time she came for supper, she wore heels that sank in the dirt and a dress that cost more than my truck. She pushed Evelyn's fried chicken around the plate, smiled with her mouth only, and whispered to Charles, "Next time, we'll take them to a real restaurant." I heard every word. Henry stayed single but copied his brother's polished distance, always on the phone, closing deals, always in a hurry to leave. Christmas became 2 expensive boxes under the tree and 3 stiff hours before they sped away in cars that cost more than my house. Evelyn and I grew old alone. My hands got slower, her eyes got weaker, but we still had each other. One night on the porch she asked, "Thomas, do you think the boys are ashamed of us?" I lied and said no, but we both knew the truth. Money had turned our sons into strangers who pitied the parents they once adored. Things turned ugly when Charles bought a $300,000 house in the city and Henry a $220,000 condo. Suddenly, they started talking about our future. Jasmine suggested, sweet as poison, that Evelyn and I would be more comfortable in a retirement community. Charles showed up with papers. Sell the house worth maybe $60,000 on a good day. Let him invest the money for us. Retire the garage. Rest our old bones. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears, but I told them plain. This is our home. We're staying. Their faces hardened. The pressure doubled real estate agents showing up uninvited. The house appraised without our say-so, hints about early inheritance, so Charles and Jasmine could start the family they kept postponing. One night, Charles said, "Dad, you're 70. An accident in the garage could wipe you both out financially." Henry nodded. "We're just worried about you getting hurt." Their voices dripped concern, but their eyes were counting dollars. Evelyn and I lay awake, talking till dawn. For the first time in 39 years, we admitted out loud that our boys might not love us anymore. We had no idea how far that might not had already gone. 3 weeks before everything shattered, Charles came to the house alone. He sat at our kitchen table, the same table where he used to color with crayons, and said, "Dad, no matter what happens, Henry and I will always take care of Mom." I thanked him, but the words tasted wrong. What did "no matter what happens" mean? The next Tuesday started like any other. I kissed Evelyn goodbye, told her I'd be home by 6 with a gallon of ice cream, her favorite treat on payday. I never made it. I remember unlocking the garage, turning on the lights, pouring a cup of the coffee Evelyn had packed in my thermos. Then nothing. Darkness. I woke up, or thought I did, tied to a chair in the back room of my own shop, mouth taped, head pounding. Charles and Henry stood over me, my own sons. Charles held an empty bottle of methanol. Henry was crying, but not enough to stop. "I'm sorry, Dad," he kept saying. "We're in too deep." They forced more of the poison down my throat while I fought until my arms went numb. The last thing I heard was Charles. "By the time anyone finds him, it'll look like he passed out and drank antifreeze by mistake. Tragic accident. Insurance pays double for accidental death." Then blackness again. I don't know how long I was dead to the world. Days, maybe. When I came to, I was in a shed behind Henry's city condo, wrists and ankles raw from rope. They had faked my death, told the hospital I'd collapsed at the garage, bribed a doctor to sign a fake death certificate, even held a quick funeral with a sealed casket weighted with sandbags. They thought I was brain dead from the methanol, a vegetable they could keep hidden until the insurance cleared and then discover my body again for a second payout. But I wasn't dead. The dose wasn't quite enough. I lay there in the dark, hour after hour, listening to them argue through the wall about how to finish me off quietly and what to do with Evelyn once the money came in. Every word was a knife. My boys, my blood, planning to murder their mother. Next, stage it as grief-stricken suicide. Collect everything. I managed to work one hand free, found Henry's old phone he'd left charging, and sent Evelyn the only message I could before the battery died. "I'm alive. That is not me in the coffin. Do not trust our sons." Back in Spring Creek, Evelyn received that text at my graveside. From that moment her nightmare began, and my fight for both our lives began in earnest. She did exactly what I prayed she would, refused to break. Started asking questions, found my hidden letter in the garage desk where I'd written my suspicions weeks earlier. She discovered the insurance policies had been raised from $10,000 to $150,000 without my knowledge, saw the forged withdrawals from our savings, realized the shop explosion story was a lie because the garage was spotless. She went to the police, to the bank, to the cemetery at night with a flashlight looking for proof. And every night I lay in that shed, bruised, half blind from the poison, praying the woman I loved would be strong enough to bring our sons to justice before they came back to finish me. They almost did. One night Charles came alone, drunk on Triumph and whiskey, bragging that the insurance company was about to pay out and Mom would have an accident within the month. He didn't check my ropes carefully. I waited until he turned. Then I slammed my shoulder into him with every ounce of strength I had left. We fought father against son in the dark like animals. I was 68, half poisoned, but I was fighting for Evelyn. I got the upper hand, tied him with the same rope they'd used on me, and forced him to drive me back to Spring Creek at gunpoint with his own pistol I found in the glove box. We pulled up to the house at 4 a.m. Evelyn opened the door in a robe, saw me standing there covered in blood and filth, and for one heartbeat the world stopped. Then she ran into my arms and sobbed like a child. Behind me, Charles sat handcuffed to the steering wheel, head down, finally understanding he had lost. We didn't call the police right away. First, we made Charles tell us everything on tape, where Henry was, how they bribed the doctor, how they planned to kill Evelyn next, every dollar, every lie. Then we called Sergeant Ramirez, the only cop in town I still trusted. By sunrise, both sons were in cuffs. The story exploded across 3 counties. Local brothers fake father's death for insurance, planned to murder mother next. The trial was merciless. The prosecutor played Charles's confession, Henry's panicked denials, the forged documents, the toxicology reports showing enough methanol in my blood to kill a horse, yet I lived. I took the stand still weak, voice rasping from the damage to my throat, and looked my boys in the eye. I loved you more than my own life, I told them. I would have died happy knowing you were good men. Instead, you tried to murder the 2 people who gave you everything. There's no punishment on this earth big enough for that. The jury agreed. Life without parole for 35 years. Jasmine vanished the day the verdict came down. New name, new city, new life, without the Hayes stigma. Henry broke completely in prison. They say he screams my name at night, begging forgiveness from a father he tried to erase. Charles lasted 11 months, then hanged himself with a bedsheet. The guard found a note. Dad, tell Mom I'm sorry we were never the men you raised us to be. I visit his grave sometimes, not to mourn the monster, but to mourn the little boy who once fell asleep on my chest, listening to the sound of my heartbeat. Evelyn and I sold the big city properties the boys had bought with their dirty money and used every cent to start the Evelyn and Thomas Hayes Foundation for families betrayed by greed. 10 years later, we've helped 89 parents and siblings bring their own Charleses and Henrys to justice. We pay for private investigators, lawyers, safe houses, therapy, anything to keep another Evelyn from standing alone against her own children. People ask if I hate my sons. Hate is too small a word for what I feel. I pity them the way you pity a rabid dog that once licked your hand. They had every chance to be decent and chose evil because evil was easier. Some nights I still wake up tasting methanol and feeling ropes on my wrists. But then I feel Evelyn's hand find mine in the dark, and I remember. We survived. We won. The garage is gone now. Turned into a community workshop where I teach teenage boys and girls how to rebuild engines. And more importantly, how to rebuild a conscience. The sign out front reads, Honest work for honest hands, Thomas Hayes, proprietor, still alive and still stubborn. Every Sunday morning, Evelyn and I walk to the cemetery together. We bring flowers from the garden we planted where the shed used to be the same ground where they hid me to die. We lay a bouquet on the empty plot where they buried a casket full of sand and a bouquet on Charles's grave, too, because grief is complicated. Then we go home, sit on the same porch swing we bought in 1985, and drink coffee exactly the way she always made it. 2 sugars, a little milk, strong enough to wake the dead. And sometimes, when the wind moves through the oaks just right, I swear I can hear the boys laughing the way they did when they were 6 and 8, chasing fireflies in the yard, while Evelyn and I watched from this very spot, believing love was unbreakable. It almost broke us, but it didn't. Love held, truth held, and 2 old people who should have died at their children's hands are still here, still holding each other, still proving that some things, loyalty, justice, and a 39-year marriage built on coffee and porch swings are stronger than greed, stronger than poison, stronger than death itself. 15 years have passed since the night Charles drove me home in defeat. I'm 83 now, hair white as engine degreaser, hands crooked with arthritis, but I can still turn a wrench when I need to remind myself who I am. Evelyn is 80, beautiful as the day I met her, eyes still the color of a summer sky. The foundation has offices in 3 states now. We've put 37 greedy sons and daughters behind bars and saved 41 parents who were minutes away from drinking the same poison I tasted. Reporters still call every year around the anniversary. They want to know if time has softened me toward Charles and Henry. I tell them the truth. I buried my sons the day they decided money mattered more than their mother's heartbeat. One is in the ground. One is in a prison psych ward, lost forever, inside his own guilt. I don't hate them anymore. Hate takes too much energy, and I'm saving mine for living. Last month, a young man came to the workshop, 19, cocky, smelling of expensive cologne. He wanted to know why I teach for free, why I bother with losers who can't pay. I took him out back, showed him the garden that grows where they tried to bury me alive, told him the short version of the story. When I finished, he was crying. 2 weeks later, he came back, took off his fancy watch, rolled up his sleeves, and asked if he could learn to rebuild a carburetor. His name is Jacob. His grandmother raised him alone after his parents chose drugs over family. He starts trade school next fall, full scholarship from the foundation. That's the real victory. Every kid who chooses honesty over easy money is a brick in the wall we built to keep other parents from becoming me and Evelyn. So if you're watching this, and you're a father or mother scared of your own child, if you've noticed the insurance policies changing, the sudden interest in your will, the fake concern wrapped around cold eyes, call the number at the bottom of the screen. We've been where you are. We know the taste of betrayal mixed with coffee. You are not crazy. You are not alone, and you do not have to drink the poison. There is always a way out, and sometimes it starts with a 70-year-old mechanic who refused to stay dead and a wife who refused to let love be murdered twice. This is Thomas Hayes, still kicking, still fixing what's broken, one engine, one conscience, one family at a time. Thank you for letting me tell you our story. If it helps even one person find the courage Evelyn and I found, then every scar was worth it. See you in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you want to help another parent escape the shed, send us super thanks. Every dollar keeps another monster from winning. God bless you, and keep your loved ones close, but keep your eyes open. The world still has oaks to sit under, coffee to drink, and honest work waiting for honest hands. Did you enjoy this story? And tell me, where in the world are you listening from? I'd love to meet you in the comments. If this story touched your heart, you can support me by sending a super thanks. Your support helps me keep creating more stories like this for you. Thank you so much for always being so kind and encouraging. I'm excited to read your thoughts and reactions below. On your screen right now, you'll find 2 more real-life stories that I personally recommend. And there are many more waiting for you on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new life story. I'll see you in the next one. ****.